So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the online press conference here at Eurojust, and a warm welcome to the journalists attending here on the major anti-migrant smuggling operation which took place yesterday. A press release will be issued, and we have time for a few questions afterwards. Please use the chat button, and then we will get the questions here, and I'll pass them on to the speakers, who are Ms. Carole Etienne, Chief Prosecutor from Lille in France, Mr. Jean-Philippe Lecouf, Europol Deputy Executive Director and responsible for the Operations Directorate, Mr. Alexander van Dam, National Member for the Netherlands at Eurojust, Mr. Christian Bagung, Prosecutor from Osnabrück in Germany, Mr. Frank de Meester, Chief Prosecutor from West Flanders, Bruges in Belgium, and Mr. Matt Rivers, Regional Head of Investigations, United Kingdom National Crime Agency. Welcome to you all. As well, there are representatives of law enforcement authorities here, in case there might be questions for them, and they are Mr. Jean-Bastien Jacquemart, Commander of the Central Office of Combating Irregular Migration and Irregular Labour, OCRIEST from France, Mr. Helgo Martens, Police Director and Head of Operations of the German Police Mission, Federal Police, Bundespolizei, Mr. René van der Zandschulp of the Royal Dutch Police, Koninklijke Marechaussee, and Mr. Chris van Steenkiste of the Federal Judicial Police Department, International Police Corporation in Belgium. Ms. Etienne, may I ask you to take the floor, and Ms. Etienne will speak in French and we will provide translation. Thank you very much.
Mesdames et messieurs, je reprends donc mon propos. Depuis une quinzaine de jours, des informations parcellaires avec des chiffres sujets à caution circulent dans plusieurs médias européens à propos d'un réseau criminel de haut niveau impliqué dans un trafic de migrants transmanche ayant donné lieu à de nombreuses investigations internationales et à une coopération étroite entre la France, la Belgique, les Pays-Bas, l'Allemagne et le Royaume-Uni.
Incomplete information, questionable numbers have been circulating among several European media for the last 2 weeks regarding a high-level OCG. This organization involved in migrant smuggling activity across the Channel is subjected to several international investigations and a close cooperation between France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany and the United Kingdom.
C'est pourquoi il paraît aujourd'hui indispensable que des éléments objectifs soient communiqués dans la limite du secret de la procédure pénale française en cours.
That's why it is necessary today to communicate factual information, bearing in mind the limitations implied by the protection of the confidentiality of the French penal proceedings.
Il s'agit à la base d'un regroupement au printemps 2021 de plusieurs enquêtes préliminaires françaises relatives à un réseau irako-kurde opérant des passages par voie maritime depuis le littoral, ayant donné lieu à une ouverture d'informations judiciaires à Dunkerque le 30 août 2021 des chefs d'associations de malfaiteurs et d'aide à l'entrée, au séjour et à la circulation irrégulière en France ou dans un État partie à la Convention Schengen en bonne organisée.
Initially, in spring 2021, there were several preliminary investigations in France related to an Iraqi Kurdish network organizing crossings of the Channel to the UK. Then on the 30th of August 2021, the proceedings for participating a criminal organization abating illegal immigration and migrant smuggling were opened.
Après une première phase d'interpellation à compter du 16 novembre 2021 et au regard de l'ampleur internationale du réseau migratoire relevant d'une grande criminalité organisée, la JIRS de Lille était saisie le 5 janvier 2022. Les investigations ont effectivement permis de déceler une vaste organisation criminelle structurée de haut niveau avec un système financier bien rodé, disposant de ramifications internationales et d'une logistique tentaculaire lui permettant d'avoir la mainmise sur les passages de migrants par traversée de la Manche à destination de l'Angleterre en embarcation pneumatique à moteur.
From the 16th of November 2021, a first series of arrests occurred and the scope of the case led to the Interregional Specialized Jurisdiction of Lille to be entrusted the proceedings on the 5th of January 2022. The investigations uncovered a vast and high-level criminal organization with a very elaborate financing scheme. The OCG is internationally widely spread with impressive logistical organization, allowing the OCG to lead the smuggling of migrants on small boats to the UK.
Cette organisation supervisait l'acheminement des migrants de toute nationalité sur les plages par des chauffeurs, l'acheminement des bateaux depuis l'Allemagne et les Pays-Bas, le recours pour l'acheminement des migrants et des bateaux à des complices implantés localement, qu'il s'agisse de propriétaires d'immeubles et d'appartements, de garagistes, de négociants automobiles, bref, d'hébergeurs, ainsi que de chauffeurs. Et cette organisation supervisait également les traversées maritimes proprement dites.
The organization oversaw the transportation with drivers of the migrants from all nationalities to the beaches, the transportation of the small boats from Germany and the Netherlands, the use of accomplices locally set, like car repair, car sellers, real estate owners, drivers, and of course the channel crossings by themselves.
C'est donc un total de 14 individus qui ont été interpellés jusqu'en mai 2022 par les enquêteurs de l'Office central pour la répression de l'immigration irrégulière et l'emploi d'étrangers sans titre, l'OCRIEST, et de la Brigade mobile de recherche zonale de Lille, la BMRZ.
In total, 14 suspects were arrested until May 2022 by the investigators of the Central Office Against Immigration and Illegal Labour and the Mobile Brigade for Research of Lille.
2 autres faisant l'objet d'un mandat d'arrêt européen nous ont été remis les 24 et 30 mai 2022 par les autorités allemandes.
2 other suspects under a European arrest warrant were surrendered to France on the 24th and 30th of May by the German authorities.
Ces individus ont été mis en examen et placés en détention provisoire, dont la tête de réseau, ainsi que des cadres de l'organisation, mais aussi des passeurs ou acteurs locaux fournissant à l'organisation les moyens logistiques nécessaires.
These suspects have been placed in preventive custody. Among them was the head of the OCG and some high-ranking members of the organization, as well as smugglers and local facilitators.
Cette procédure a donc permis, pour la première fois en France, d'identifier et d'impliquer des individus situés dans la catégorie des donneurs d'ordre, composés de cadres de l'organisation ainsi qu'un chef de réseau.
For the first time in France, we are in a position to prosecute leaders of such a criminal organization.
Afin de démanteler ce réseau criminel international, la JIRS de Lille a souhaité poursuivre ses investigations, notamment auprès des autorités judiciaires belges et allemandes. Elle a sollicité et participé à des réunions de coordination sous l'égide d'Eurojust. Elle a fourni et partagé des éléments d'information précis sur les individus restant à interpeller.
In order to dismantle the OCG, JIRS Lille wished to pursue the investigation in coordination with the Belgian and German authorities. Several coordination meetings were organized by Eurojust that allowed the countries to share precise information regarding the suspects still to be arrested.
Une opération conjuguée d'interpellation au plan européen a donc été programmée à compter du 5 juillet 2022. 9 nouvelles cibles ont été interpellées en France hier et aujourd'hui. D'autres ont fait l'objet de mandats d'arrêt européens aux Pays-Bas et en Allemagne.
A coordinated series of operations at European level was launched from yesterday, July the 5th. 9 new targets were arrested yesterday in France, and today some are under European arrest warrants in the Netherlands and Germany.
Cette opération a au total et à l'issue de ces 2 jours permis 39 interpellations, outre la saisie de 135 bateaux, 1259 gilets de sauvetage, près d'une centaine de moteurs et de pompes et plusieurs dizaines de milliers d'euros en espèces. Ce sont bien sûr des chiffres provisoires puisqu'il y a des perquisitions toujours en cours.
These operations resulted to 39 arrests, 135 small boats, 1,259 lifejackets and around 100 boat engines and pumps, and several thousands of euros in cash were seized. Those numbers are, of course, not final, as searches are still ongoing.
Je tiens également à rappeler qu'il existe une instance de la Task Force des pays de la mer du Nord, consacrée à la coopération pénale internationale en matière de lutte contre les filières d'aide à l'immigration clandestine, qui réunit semestriellement à Lille ou Douai, sous l'impulsion du parquet général de Douai, les autorités judiciaires et services d'enquête spécialisés de France, de Belgique, des Pays-Bas, du Royaume-Uni et d'Allemagne.
I would like to mention here that a North Sea task force has been initiated. It is dedicated to international judicial cooperation in the fight against migrant smuggling networks. This task force meets twice a year in Lille or Douai at the invitation of the General Prosecutor of Douai, with the judicial authorities and specialized investigative units of France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany and the United Kingdom.
Cette instance permet d'échanger sur les tendances observées en matière de mode opératoire et d'adaptation des filières à l'action répressive pour identifier des axes d'action. Elle permet aussi de détecter les dossiers présentant des potentialités de développement d'une coopération pénale renforcée.
This task force allows the involved country to exchange about the trends in terms of modus operandi and the way the perpetrators evolve in order to adapt the judicial and police response, and also about the cases showing a potential need for strengthened judicial cooperation.
Cette coopération est primordiale pour lutter efficacement contre les trafiquants, seuls bénéficiaires de l'immigration irrégulière, qui en font un marché florissant, sans se soucier des risques qu'ils font courir à ceux qu'ils exploitent. Je vous remercie.
This close cooperation is crucial in the efficient fight against the traffickers, who are the sole beneficiaries of illegal immigration's important profits, without caring about the risks faced by the human beings they exploit. Thank you.
Merci à vous, Madame Etienne. Thank you very much. I would now like to pass the floor to Mr. Lecouf. Mr. Lecouf, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. In the name of Europol, I will give you first some contextual information about this phenomenon, which we are following at European level, and then to describe the role of Europol in the support of this investigation by the member states. This is the most significant operation ever mounted against smugglers operating across the English Channel, and especially with this phenomenon of small boats. Migrant smuggling across the English Channel increased potentially since mid-2019. The flows have not decreased following the Brexit or nor during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. In fact, we believe that these changes led to the shift of the crime from the traditional lorry smuggling into the small boats. The rising phenomenon requires intensified international cooperation. The result of this close partnership is to be seen today. The outcome of this joint operation illustrates the importance of international cooperation in tackling migrant smuggling networks and other serious and organized cross-border crimes. The joint investigative effort of law enforcement authorities and judicial authorities have identified how smugglers operate. Smugglers use rigid inflatable boats, as you know. Criminal networks primarily operate from Belgium, France, Germany and the Netherlands, where they supply boat, engine and safety equipment and make departure for the United Kingdom. Facilitators used to acquire boats and engines online in Germany and the Netherlands first, and then transport them to departure points along the French coast and Belgian coast. Recently, the criminal business increased, and the network developed its own logistical supply chain, acquiring boats, engine and life jacket directly from manufacturers. Migrants pay, we estimate, between 2,500 euros to up to 10,000 euros for crossing the channel, with little concern, very little concern for human life, the smugglers often launch many boats at the same time, and sometimes during adverse weather conditions to avoid detection. This deadly business is highly profitable. We estimate in Europol that in 2021, it could have been generated around 60 million euros profit. Since January 2020, Europol has received information coming from the member states about this phenomenon of the small boats. It's 280 cases, means not only investigation but incident information received by Europol on this organized migrant smuggling towards the UK. These are, as I said, investigation and or smuggling incidents related to migrant smuggling with boats across the English Channel. Europol prioritized around 70 of these cases, which are led by primarily Belgium, France, and the Netherlands in cooperation with Germany and the UK. In 2021, Europol set up an operational task force. This operational task force named Dune en français, to support investigation targeting criminal networks smuggling migrants across the English Channel. This operational task force was set up with Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, and the UK, and is supported by JIT, that has been a joint investigation team that has been settled by Eurojust, who supported these investigations. The operation which took place yesterday was supported under this operational task force June and is the result of joint targeting of prime suspects in several parallel investigations of national authorities in Belgium, in France, in Germany, in the Netherlands and in the United Kingdom. The operational task force identified 3 high-value targets to be part of this investigation. They were arrested yesterday in Germany. These 3 high-value targets are believed to have an important role in logistical supply chain and facilitating the recruitment of migrants, as well preparing embarkations towards the UK from the European mainland. Europol appointed dedicated experts to identify criminal connections between several national investigations. In the aftermath of the tragedy unfolding in the English Channel in November 2021, Europol initiated a permanent deployment to the specialized investigation cell, the unité de renseignement opérationnel, set up by France and the UK to specifically target migrant smuggling with the use of small boats. The intensive international cooperation and information exchange via Europol channels led to the identification of links between different cells of this criminal organization. Specifically, the cooperation between authorities connected the logistical, the recruitment, and the smuggling cells of this criminal network. OTF Operational Task Force June investigators benefited extensively from the dedicated financial instruments set up by Europol to facilitate such high-profile investigations and assist participating countries in managing various aspects of this investigative work. During the Action Day, Europol facilitated the deployment of over 20 investigators to several locations in Germany, Netherlands, and the UK. Europol experts assisted the authorities in Belgium, France, and Germany to cross-check in real time during the operation this information against Europol's databases, perform digital forensic, and support investigators in the field with new leads. I will stop there. I just wanted to emphasize the quality of this international cooperation to solve this issue. in this area of migrant smuggling, the powerful networks are using the different countries to settle that activities, as this is clearly shown in this investigation. So it's through international cooperation and exchange of information, extensive exchange of information, with a perfect alignment that we had in this investigation between law enforcement and judicial authorities, that we can have such successes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Lecouf. Sorry, the sound system plays up again. Mr. Van Dam, may I pass the floor to you?
Thank you very much. Tackling migrant smuggling is one of the priorities for the European Union, Member States and Eurojust. The role of the agency has recently been enhanced in the renewed EU Action Plan against migrant smuggling, reinforcing the need for cooperation between the judiciary and law enforcement in Member States of the European Union, as well as with Europol. We just heard that. Eurojust has built up extensive expertise in the field of migrant smuggling, with the agency last year supporting 292 cases and 11 joint investigation teams, assisting, for instance, with the taking down of a smuggling network which used taxis to transfer migrants through Greece, and another organized crime group which smuggled Syrian migrants to the European Union via the Hungarian border. Recently, the agency assisted in the successful takedown of a migrant smuggling network in Romania and Moldova. The influx, ladies and gentlemen, of migrants into the European Union is accompanied by degrading human smuggling practices. People smugglers often operate in international criminal organizations, and their activities put lives at risk. The risky sea crossings and transit regularly result in casualties. The practices of people smugglers increasingly leads to political and social outrage. Taking advantage of illegal migration by criminals should therefore be combated. We are therefore very satisfied that this impactful operation has been carried out in our joint fight against smuggling. In the framework of the extensive operation against an international human smuggler organization by Dutch National Police, the Royal Marechaussee and judicial authorities have provided assistance. Especially the Royal Marechaussee, responsible for the Dutch border control, aims at combating human smuggling and therefore look out for smuggling lines throughout Europe and seek therefore international cooperation. In the operation from yesterday, approximately 80 Dutch law enforcement officers contributed to the following results, and they did that together with the Public Prosecution Service in Oost-Brabant and Zeeland-West-Brabant, and together with the National Police. And our results are that we made yesterday 6 arrests, we did 7 house searches, and we also did 3 searches of a supermarket storage, a car company, and in a storage of boxes. And the results the law enforcement bodies found were that there were approximately 15 boxes with pumps, 21 bottom plates, 272 life jackets, 16 small boats, 12 outboard engines, and a package of paddles. At the moment, ladies and gentlemen, this operation is still ongoing, and the following days we may come with additional results. I would like to thank from this position to all the colleagues in France, in Belgium, in Germany, in the United Kingdom, the colleagues that have worked very hard to have this for the results of this Action Day. And I'm also very proud, as speaking here on behalf of Eurojust, to thank all the colleagues of law enforcement and judicial authorities. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dam. May I then now pass the floor to Mr. Bagum?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the German Public Prosecutor's Office in Osnabrück and the German police involved in this joint action day yesterday consider the whole operation to be a big success and a major step forward in fighting smuggler gangs who aim at gaining profit from the needs and despair of people. It was a flawless police operation in Germany, thus we were able to arrest all 18 subjects we were looking for. Also, several search warrants were carried out. In total, we searched 36 objects in 4 federal states and were able to secure important evidence such as boats, engines, and life jackets. The operation was a great challenge for the German police, led by the federal police and the police in Osnabrück, who had more than 900 police officers in action. It has been one of the biggest police operations of its kind. The success is not only a triumph for the German Public Prosecutor's Office in Osnabrück and the German police, but also for our partners in the EU and Great Britain. It is a result of extraordinary communication and collaboration. The German prosecution authorities have provided significant knowledge and of great value for the Belgian and French cases. This intelligence was gained through operational measures and included information on deposits for nautical equipment and dates when those goods were transported from Germany to Belgium or France. This insight put our partners in the position to not only stop several transports, but also to get the arrest and search warrants we were able to carry out in judicial assistance yesterday. The Belgian and French authorities have asked for extradition of all arrested subjects. Thanks to this outstanding cooperation between our countries on judicial and police level, the world seems to have become a little safer today. Our special thanks also go to Eurojust and Europol. The coordination they've provided was essential for the success of the operation. My colleague, Mr. Martens from the Federal Police, who's also here with me today, and I will be more than happy to answer any additional questions afterwards. Thank you.
To you, Mr. De Meester, on behalf of the Belgian judiciary.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I can say from the Belgian point of view that this international operation is a real success. Fighting migrant smuggling is a high priority for the Belgian government, and in particular for the Prosecutor's Office in West Flanders and for the police in accordance with our national security plan. In most of the cases, Belgium is more a transit country when it comes to the phenomenon of small boats. Most of the boats are launched from the French coasts, as the distance between the UK and France is shorter than from Belgium. Nevertheless, we put a lot of effort in the fight against those organized crime groups to help reducing the pressure on the French coasts and to avoid that migrants, men, women and children, die on the North Sea. It is important to arrest human smugglers when they ship nautical goods over Belgian territory, but it is even more important to dismantle the whole organized group behind, based and active in different countries. This operation can be considered as an excellent example of close and good cooperation, not only between the different police departments in Belgium, but also on an international level between 5 countries. First of all, we are very grateful to our UK colleagues for the arrest of the alleged leader of this organized crime group in London in May of this year in the Belgian case. In second place, we want to underline the extremely appreciated contribution of the Public Prosecutor's Office in Osnabrück and the German police departments for investigating that much capacity in the Belgian part of this international operation. Belgium will ask for the extradition of 18 suspects to prosecute them before the Belgian court in Bruges. I think, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a very clear message from the law enforcement departments in the different countries that where criminals don't have boundaries, the member states of the European Union and the United Kingdom are not constrained by their borders to tackle jointly these criminal organizations who endanger the lives of migrants, being the victims of human smuggling and human trafficking. And finally, we want to thank Eurojust and Europol for their much appreciated assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Meester. And now I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Matt Rivers on behalf of the UK, Mr. Matt Rivers of the National Crime Agency.
Thank you. The UK's National Crime Agency has been working with partners, as you have heard, in Belgium, Germany, France and the Netherlands, as well as Europol and Eurojust, as part of this investigation. And I would like to thank all our partners for the incredible hard work they have put into this investigation over the last year or more. This level of cooperation has been unprecedented, and we believe this to be the largest operation of its type undertaken against this threat. It is our assessment that this organisation and crime group that we have targeted may have been involved or contributed to the smuggling of up to 10,000 migrants to the UK. They are undoubtedly one of the most prolific networks involved in this type of criminality. As has been said, one of the ringleaders of this network was arrested by the NCA in May this year in London, accused of sourcing boats in Turkey and having them delivered to Germany, Belgium and the Netherlands, where other members of the criminal organisation would take them onto the northern French coast. He now faces extradition to Belgium. Those arrested in London yesterday were suspected customers of the network and were allegedly involved in the orchestrated migrant movements and laundering criminal finances. People smugglers risk lives in pursuit of profit. We have seen all too tragically the fatal consequences of their actions, whether that be through the deaths of migrants and the boats in the Channel, or fatalities in the back of lorries. This is why we are targeting and disrupting these gangs, and this is why it is a priority for the National Crime Agency. We're doing this work by working closely with partners to arrest and prosecute people smugglers. And while many of those groups operate outside of the UK jurisdiction, I hope the activity yesterday and the ongoing activity demonstrates our commitment to attack the criminals across the whole of Europe and beyond. We are disrupting the supply of vessels. We are working with social media accounts, advertising their services and targeting financial transactions. Our intelligence tells us that this is having an impact. Finally, I would like to say that I do hope this sends a message to the crime groups involved, that the NCA is working with partners across Europe, throwing the full weight of European law enforcement at curtailing their activities, and we will bring you to justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Now we have time for questions. I don't know if there's any questions from the journalists here. Otherwise, we will go to questions we have been receiving online. We've already had two questions from France 3. One, if there's any more data on the number of victims, but I think you've already said something about that, Mr. Rivers, the number of migrants, but perhaps there's more information. And a second question, I don't know if that's a question for the judiciary or police to answer, but is there now the idea of a legal route to the UK progressing? Is anybody there who could answer something on that? It might be perhaps not a question for police or judiciary, but I don't know if you have any more information on the number of victims.
The number of victims is an estimated number worked on from intelligence and some of the evidence we've already gathered. It is between 4,000 and 10,000. My personal estimation is that we are looking at the higher number for this crime group, towards 10,000 people smuggled. In terms of political question, no, I don't think that's one for me to answer today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rivers. Then a question, I think, for Mr. Bagung or Mr. Martens from WDR German TV. What role plays the farmhouse in Lotte in the migrant smuggling operation? Do you have any information on that?
Oh, sorry. I think it's a typical example for the structure in Germany. We have 5 of these warehouses detected. Often they are not in big cities, and they are often on the land side, and they have their crime actions there, and so we detected these warehouses in case of our surveillance action. And I think this warehouse in Lotte is very typical for the structure of this OCG in Germany.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we have a question from Der Spiegel. How much money did the network approximately generate over which period of time? I know, Mr. Lecouf, you've mentioned a figure, but do we know anything particular for this network?
Well, it's always difficult to assess, and the figures that we give are estimation based on what we know about the cost of one crossing, the number of migrants that has crossed. So our estimation is that in 2021 it's around 60 million euros, which is a lot, but it's not the benefit, it's what it generates. And it's for all the traffic, not only this network. It's what we think as a global figure on the phenomenon, rather than on this investigation typically. This has to be also worked about from all the material that has been gathered during this operation, and that has to be further exploited.
Okay, then a question coming about the same question from two media, from the Daily Mail in London and Channel 4. Are any of the authorities aware if this organised crime group was involved in the death of 27 people, the tragic death on the 24th of November? Yes, Daily Mail would like to know as well if there's a timeline you could give on that. So, do we know if this OCG was involved in the tragic deaths in November? Is there any evidence there?
Yes, we think it's two different crime groups. It's two different cases.
Okay, thank you. Then we have a question from the website moneylaundering.com. They are interested in more the financial dimension of this case. Have any of the investigators identified financial flows linked to this network of smugglers? And did these financial flows make it possible to establish links between different groups? So perhaps at this stage not, because I think investigations might be still ongoing. Yes, so we have no. Then a further question from Julia Pascal of Le Monde. The 18 people arrested in Germany should be extradited to Belgium. She just wants to have some more information on what will happen to the 18 arrests in Germany.
Yes, I can answer that. As I said in my statement, both countries, Belgium and France, have asked for extradition, and this is a process that is now going on. It is up to the Bureau of the Attorney General in Oldenburg, and then later on the High Regional Court in Oldenburg to decide on the extradition. So I can confirm, as my colleague from Belgium also said, that Belgium has asked for extradition of all 18 suspects that were arrested in Germany, but also France has asked for extradition of 2 of those suspects.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bagung. Then another question from Channel 4. Could anybody give a sense of proportion of the overall annual crossings this particular organized crime group was responsible for? And do you expect a fall in crossings as a result of this operation? Mr. Rivers.
I think given the number of boats that were seized yesterday, that yes, we can expect a fall in the number of crossings in the immediate future. And the second part of the question, the percentage-wise, I think last year we had nearly 1,000 boats cross the channel. 135 boats is just over 10%. We can work it out from that, the size and scale of this group involved, I think.
Thank you. Question coming from France Bleu Nord Radio. how many migrants have benefited of this network these past months? I think that's about the 10,000. I don't know if there's other data, but whereabouts in France have interpellations happened or taken place? And what's the profile of the people who have been arrested or questioned? Do we know if the migrants who benefit of this network were based in France, so in Calais or Dunkirk?
Let me say that for the profile, I can't really say anything about it. There's like if there's a certain group who characterizes the suspects we have arrested now. I don't have any information whether they were located in Calais in France. That might be up to the French colleague to answer.
Maybe we know that they are. Maybe we.
Okay, thank you very much. A question from Simon Jones of the BBC. These crossings have been increasing for a long time. Has there been enough international cooperation in recent years? I don't know who would like to take that question. Mr. Lecouf.
Well, thank you. Well, I stated that only last year Eurojust supported 292 cases, and there are at the moment 11, or there were 11 joint investigation teams. So that figure says that there are lots of investigations going on this field, because we think it's one of the most important issues we are confronted with if you look at the tragedies that are taking place at the seas. So we are investing, and with we, I mean the countries are investing, both with law enforcement officers, both with investigations, and both with by judicial authorities.
Mr. Lecouf, you would like to add something, please?
Yeah. Maybe from Europol on this question. These investigations are quite comprehensive, and it takes time. So the phenomenon, as I said, really increased in 2021 during the year 20, but especially 2021. We are in 2022, so it's a normal, let's say, if we can say that, but it's the time that we need also to start the investigation, put in place the international cooperation, and connect all the dots, and having the result that we are commenting today. So for me, it's very difficult to be quicker than what we have done, considering the scale of this investigation.
Mr. Van Steenk is of the Federal Judicial Police in Belgium, who replaces Mr. De Meester, who has had to leave.
Yes, I can only confirm what Mr. Le Gouf is telling, because just to give you an example, in Belgium, this investigation started 3 years ago, so it takes time. But from the start, in Belgium, we had the strategy, don't go for the little fish, but invest time, capacity, and try to climb up to the higher level and take the ones that are really responsible for doing harm to those migrants. And I have to say that there was from the start a very good cooperation between all the federal judicial districts, and with an exchange of intelligence, so that we could climb up at that specific level, thanks to an expert network, because in many cases there were, let's say, minor incidents, someone with one boat, and some people, they didn't know what to do. So there was an efficient exchange of intelligence in that respect.
Thank you very much. We had a question from The Guardian. If any of the suspects arrested were involved in bribery of officials, is there any information of that, on that? Sorry, everybody's nodding no here, so we have no information on that. Then a question from the Neue Osnabrücker Zeitung from Germany. What can the German police say about the involvement of Kurdish clans in this case?
Of course, it's a Iraqi-Kurdish network, and so it's a tragedy, of course, that they make business also with migrants and refugees.
Okay, thank you. We have time for two more questions. One has actually come in from the Daily Telegraph, but that's on the number of arrests, and he would like just to have clarifications. I think we can say that 18 arrests have taken place in Germany, 9 in France, 6 in the Netherlands, and 6 in the UK. These are the figures at this stage. Then one more question from Le Monde. The head of the smuggling network has been arrested in the UK. Can you say anything about his profile, his alleged role in the network, and nationality? Do you have any information you can share on that, Mr. Rivers?
He's an Iranian Kurd, young man of 26 years old. Sorry, the rest of the question?
Sorry, so the profile, alleged role in the network, and nationality, you've already given a broad answer, but if there's any more information you could possibly add.
He's definitely a key role organising both the logistics and the migrants for the boats. Very much a key player and very important to this network.
From Channel 4 again. Can anybody say anything on the fact if direct supply chains were established with manufacturers of boats, who was the manufacturer of the boats, and was this manufacturer based in Turkey? Very detailed question, but I don't know if at this stage anybody can answer that. But
the work is still ongoing, but all indications are that the boats are either manufactured and produced in Turkey or China. A lot of the boats have Chinese origin, and we're obviously continuing to work. The NCA is continuing to work with through our international network to identify the suppliers of these boats and see what we can do to stem that supply.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to all the speakers here, and thank you very much to all the journalists attending online, and thank you for your patience in the beginning. Thank you very much, and good luck with the reporting and filing of this, and thanks to everybody. Thank you, bye-bye.